We're rolling into week one. We're setting lineups, and today we're covering the must-start players. We're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, trying to predict the game script, how the ball is going to be flowing, and try to identify those guys that we want to put in our lineup. We're going to talk about almost every player that's actionable for fantasy football, so you can make your decisions for your fantasy football teams. Before we begin, though, you need to drop your start-sit questions in the comment section below. Every time I do this video on Saturday, I will answer your questions Saturday night, helping you with your start-sit decisions and giving you an answer, and it will be in depth. Like, I will give you a paragraph on a lot of them, unless it's point blank, super easy for me to do. I will help you out. You need to click that subscribe button right now so you don't miss next week's video, so I can help you set your lineups next week, the week after. We've been doing this for years. Just hit that button. Stop missing out. Our first game that we are looking at today. We are looking at Bengals at the Browns. Browns are at home, 48.5 over under. So the implied point total from Vegas is saying this is going to be a high-scoring game. It was at 47.5 over under. This could be a high-scoring game, but I could also see it being a low-scoring game and hitting the under pretty good. The Browns' defense is nasty. They added some players to it. The Bengals got a lot of firepower on offense. The Browns really do not. So this could be a slow game script. Only way it breaks and hits the over, with that being very high for this matchup, 45 would have been fair. I think it would be the Browns' defense breaking, causing the Browns having to push the game script. But that defense is nasty. It could start off pretty slow. When I'm looking at this matchup here on the Bengals side, obviously you're starting Jamar Chase. Like, that's by default. Same thing with Chase Brown. I do have him lower in my rankings. Check that out on my rankings video from the other day. Joe Burrow is in a matchup here where he should score okay, but may not hit his ceiling per game-to-game basis due to this matchup unless something breaks to the point where he's slinging it and we get some red zone looks. When you're looking at T. Higgins, it's going to be volatile. He could splash due to some big plays, deeper targets downfield. He could also have a bad matchup here against the Browns. I believe this pass rush is really going to do a number here. And when we're looking at the Browns, not many people are starting Joe Flacco. I've not heard anybody saying that unless they really went deep on their late-round quarterback strategy. You're looking at Jerome Ford. He's going to be getting touches. Could be a sneaky play this week. Him and Dylan Sampson. Those two could be sneaky plays this week. They're going to run the football. Neutral game script. It's almost 50-50. They lean a little bit more towards the pass like every team in the league, but it's almost 50-50 in neutral game script. If that defense holds, they could sit on neutral game script, and you can see these running backs run the ball. He could be sneaky like Javonte Williams, but on top of that, like Javonte Williams, I do not expect him to be sneaky good in production, just killing it touch after touch, yard after yard. So he has to cross the goal line. Same thing with Sampson, for you get anything in return. And you're looking at Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. I think one of these wide receivers could splash. I think one of them could splash this week and get you a high point total. And that's if Flacco hits it deep downfield. David Njoku is getting a lot of work with Flacco. He's probably going to rack up 6+ targets, 7+ targets. He's a good bet, especially if he went late round tight end. He's going to do well with Flacco, but there are a lot of tough matchups coming along for the Browns that could impact him. The next game we're looking at, Giants at Commanders. I look for Russell Wilson and Malik Nabers to push this one. I look for them to be a good duo. I look for Malik Nabers to get good targets. I look for him to get a lot of work like always. And I think Russell Wilson knows this. He's going to cash in on this. We've seen this in training camp. That's why we do the clips in the offseason. They have a very good rapport. Tyrone Tracy is going to come out as the league dog. I would not be surprised if they bake in a little Devin Singletary. Cam Scatterboo gets a few touches, but not so much. He needs to ramp up to the speed of the game. That's what it saw or looked like in preseason. Tyrone Tracy, good at catching balls out of the backfield. This could be a game where the game script breaks in a good way, where we hit the over. Due to Washington, Jaden Daniels pushing it downfield, we got Terry McLaurin, we got Debo now, Austin Ekeler. Now your question is with the running backs though. Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Austin Ekeler. If you got Jacory Croskey-Merritt at the right price as a UDFA, last round of your draft, you got other running backs. You have other decisions to make. If you paid up for him, that risk is intensified, and now you feel it with the lineup decisions. We don't know how the split's going to work, but I imagine it's going to be some sort of split. They're probably going to have 3 of these 4 running backs. McNichols is probably going to be out. It's going to be JCM, Chris Rodriguez, and Ekeler. And we'll probably catch a tweet, maybe a Glazer tweet, that Jacory Croskey-Merritt in line to be 1B or a starter. We'll probably catch that. If you don't catch that tweet, if that does not come out from Jay Glazer, I kind of like rammed those 2 names together, then you may want to go your other route. Austin Ekeler could be fine for fantasy football with either one of these running backs starting alongside him and him being the 1B or the starter by catching balls out of the backfield, so he'd be okay in PPR, but not enough to win your league unless he crosses the goal line multiple times. This is a matchup where you got a good tandem here with Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Debo. I look at Terry McLaurin being okay this week. Debo could be a good ancillary flex depending on what you got. Zach Ertz, 5+ targets, has a chance, but you cannot guarantee it. Theo Johnson has a chance. Malik Nabers, instant start. Wan'Dale Robinson, I want to see the connection with Russell Wilson if he's going to go to the short game at all to him. Wan'Dale Robinson, if this game script breaks, could be a fun guy to look at. I look for this game to go huge. If I'm playing daily fantasy football, I got multiple stacks on this, guaranteed. Arizona Cardinals, Saints. Do you trust Spencer Rattler? Because he could be the bomb that nukes this whole game for everybody. James Conner might be the safest play due to that. Cardinals could be up. You got a 6.5 spread here. Cardinals could be road dogging the Saints if Spencer Rattler looks like what he did last year, especially during those down moments in college, like when he lost his job at Oklahoma. If he's having those down moments, it goes horrendously bad. Like, he's either like, hey, this is next Patrick Mahomes, or he's like the worst thing you've ever seen. Like, there's nothing in between, and there's no consistency to it. Spencer Rattler, if you catch that moment, it could be rough for Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. Another thing, if he lets those nuts hang, those 3 wide receivers could be great wild cards this week. On top of that, if that game script does break in a bad way, might catch some garbage time for those wide receivers. And will Rattler target Alvin Kamara on the short game? Or will he go YOLO too much? Alvin Kamara, there's risk, but Alvin Kamara always has risk, so I'm not really afraid to start him. I just know in the back of my head this could run really bad, if you understand what I'm talking about. Now I'm looking at the Cardinals. James Conner seems like the safest play. Now he's probably going to get hurt. My bad. Bad juju coming out there. Knock on wood. Trey Benson, next man up. Marvin Harrison Jr., can he connect with Kyler Murray? Marvin Harrison Jr., good target share last year, good ADOT. If we can bring in a few extra balls each game, a few extra of those targets, a better percentage, if Kyler Murray can get a little bit more accurate on those attempts, maybe scale back that ADOT. He was in 13s, maybe 11s. Easier to connect. That's a higher acuity target. The deeper you go downfield, you're closer to that safety over top. Maybe we scale that back a little bit. We get a little bit more out of Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a wild card, but I think you're starting him nonetheless due to potential target share. Trey McBride, instant start, targeted by Kyler Murray. Good upside in this matchup. Steelers and Jets. I hate this game. I'm staying away from it. For DFS, I'm not totally staying away from it in large tournaments. I might try to get creative with it to be contrarian with some of the lineups. But breaking ties and rankings, lineup setting, I'm going away from this matchup. So if I'm looking at Breece on somebody else, probably going with somebody else. If I'm looking with DK Metcalf and somebody else, I'm probably going with that other person because I expect this to be a very slow game. Not many points scored. It could be 14-7, 21-14, something like that. Something really has to break. Like the rushing attack for the Jets has to go off. Justin Fields is not throwing it 30-plus times. Garrett Wilson has a rough matchup here because this is a game script that's not going to push the pace at all. Aaron Rodgers, pretty much throughout his career, he only had 4 seasons where he was above ranked 15th among quarterbacks in pace of play. Usually he's in the 20s and the 30s. The Steelers are usually in the 20s or in the 30s. Jets are planning to run the ball. This is going to be a game that runs quick. I expect Breece Hall to be the safest play here. Braylon Allen, a good ancillary start if you're really hurting, but it's week 1, you shouldn't be. Garrett Wilson, so risky. DK Metcalf should be in line for a good target share, but that could equate to 5 to 6 targets, and we got to bring in those deep targets. You're also watching Jaylen Warren. He might get enough to get you 10 fantasy points. We're watching the snaps from Caleb Johnson. Not many people are starting Aaron Rodgers. This isn't really a good matchup for that. Justin Fields is a gamble, but that rushing potential is real with him and could still give you QB1 results, even if he throws for only like 175 yards. Bucks at Falcons. This is another matchup I'm chasing. There's a lot of stacks here for daily fantasy football. If you're going for that route, if you're watching me for that, this is a good matchup to make stacks. 47.5 over under. The ball should be flowing. Now, to contradict that, Michael Penix. Now, if it's rough to start the year off with him, the ball could not be flowing. But there's indicators here that it could be still good. Penix, Drake London. You're starting Drake London. Bijan, you're not benching Bijan. Kyle Pitts is a wild card for upside. So if I'm playing somebody and they hit on Friday, they start Quentin Johnston or somebody. They hit on Thursday's game. They started Javonte Williams. And I look at my lineup and I'm a little bit worried. I'm looking at my first tight end. I'm like, the odds of him hitting 25 ain't great. Then I'll think about Kyle Pitts. More often than not, the way you guys drafted, you're not going Kyle Pitts. But there's upside here. Against Kyle Pitts, though, Drake London's going to get 25 to 30% of the targets. Darnell Mooney's questionable. That's something to pay attention to. Bijan Robinson's going to get a good target share. There may not be enough balls to go around. However, if there's a matchup to exploit, Kyle Pitts could be getting it. Baker Mayfield's in a good matchup for him. Changes in the offensive line, coaching staff, Bucky Irving, Rachaad White. That could hit a little different this year, but still you're starting Bucky Irving. You're getting those running back touches, so you're doing it. Chris Godwin out, as we already know. Emeka, startable, depending on your lineup setting requirements and how you draft at a wide receiver. He's startable. I like him this week. If you're not going to start him this week, it's going to be hard to start him any other week. Mike Evans, definitely a starter this week. Cade Otton could be a sneaky play this week for fantasy football. Not guaranteed, but he should be getting those targets. You're looking at the Panthers-Jaguars. Last year, the Panthers were oozing fantasy production for other teams. 46.5 over under. Ball should be flowing. New coach, Liam Cohen. They're going to be using the running backs. Look at what they did with Tampa Bay last year, or him. But Travis Etienne could be a sneaky option. Same with Tank. Tank could be sneaky this week. Basil Tootin, we want to watch his snaps. Not a starter this week for basic 12-man leagues, but we want to watch his snaps. Brian Thomas Jr., good to go. Travis Hunter, if you're shooting for upside in your lineup, this could be the week for him to surprise you. A good week if you're going late-round quarterback for Trevor Lawrence. Brenton Strange could surprise you. This is a good matchup for him. We're banged up at wide receiver with the Panthers. Hunter Renfro's in line, but I'm not really looking his way. I'm looking at T-Mac. I think T-Mac's going to get more targets than what you realize in preseason. Even when he's not open, they'll target him. They'll just push it to him. He's that good of a wide receiver. Xavier Legette, around the red zone, is a wide receiver to pay attention to. Most people are not starting him, but I would not be surprised if he comes up with a good stat line. JT Sanders is a sneaky tight end for the year. If you're in a deeper league, he's sitting there. Like if you're in a 14-teamer, you're looking for an extra tight end, you may want to just pick him up now. With how they're banged up at wide receiver, he could emerge this season. Chuba Hubbard, he's startable. The only way I wouldn't start Chuba Hubbard is if I drafted running back so heavy in the start that he's like my third running back, and I'm also good at wide receiver. Bryce Young could have a good matchup in this game. 46.5 over under. They could be slinging the rock, trying to keep up with the Jaguars. Bryce Young is a cheap dart throw in fantasy football this year. Miami Dolphins, Colts. This is one of my favorite matchups. So in daily fantasy football, I'm creating all the stacks. But it ain't going to be too contrarian. So make sure to make stacks of some of these rando games just in case they hit. Tua, good to go. Devin Etienne, good to go. Tyreek Hill, Waddle, I'm taking risks on all of them. Watch Malik Washington in this matchup. He has been trending up. He could get more targets than realized. A lot of his targets have been short, so he's going to have to ramp up when it comes to volume of targets, but still. Darren Waller is out. That's something to note. This is all per fantasy, guys. Going over to the Colts here. Daniel Jones. Like, if you ever think about starting Daniel Jones, this could be the matchup. Jonathan Taylor, you're starting him. No one's benching him. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell. You're going to have to throw those guys up in the air because we do not know who Daniel Jones really prefers. Josh Downs is the safest play. Michael Pittman has a good history with this team. A.D. Mitchell has been looking like Randy Moss in training camp. A.D. Mitchell could be your surprise play out of this game. If this game script breaks, like you're hitting that 47.5 over under or higher, you're hitting that over. If this game hits that over, A.D. Mitchell probably brought in some big balls. Some deep balls downfield. Some big balls. Warren could be seeing some good targets here from Daniel Jones. It's a big if with Daniel Jones. I could definitely see him targeting Tyler Warren. He did 20% of the time in his heyday with the Giants, especially when he was healthy. That's something to pay attention to. He's startable like any other tight end. There's risk there, but still startable. Raiders, Patriots, 44.5 over under. Vegas is saying this is going to be a low-scoring game. You're starting Brock Bowers. Good, bad, ugly. No matter what happens, you're starting Brock Bowers. Ramondre Stevenson could suck up more work than realized. Hendo has the potential to go boom, but he's also risky. This is his first ever start. I look for Ashton Jeanty to get a lot of touches. You're starting Ashton Jeanty. Don't be scared. You're starting Ashton Jeanty. Whatever happens, happens. He's getting a lot of touches, though. Jacoby Myers, Dante Thornton. I'm watching those two wide receivers. Thornton's a good dart throw this week. He's also pretty cheap in daily fantasy football. You can make stacks here, and this could be a good contrarian game to make stacks on. Like, you could go Thornton as a run back piece. You can go Drake May, Stephon Diggs or something like that. Run it back with Thornton and Jeanty or something like that. You could have a good stack from this game. Bowers would be incredibly expensive. If you're going tight end, Hunter Henry, 5+ targets. He could be a sneaky start, but also a sneaky start also means that there's risk involved. Titans, Broncos. I expect the Broncos to be ahead in this game. RJ Harvey should be getting work in the second half at least. I think he's going to be mixed in with Dobbins. I think you're going to be seeing both running backs. I think RJ Harvey's going to cook a little bit. Would you start him? There's risk, but he could be startable this week. Bo Nix pushing it downfield. I think he's going to have a solid game, okay stat line. Nothing tremendous, but good enough to get you by at least minimum. Evan Ingram's going to get 5+ targets. Courtland Sutton's going to get 5+ targets. A lot of them downfield. If the Broncos get up high, the passing game's going to decrease a little bit. That's something to pay attention to. Cam Ward might struggle in this matchup. It's against the Broncos. And Calvin Ridley will get targets, but it may be ugly. You also could see ancillary targets as they have to get creative in this matchup. Alec Aymaner could go off. Chigakonkwo could go off. And they could go off in a way where it's ugly as they're trying to get creative. But this whole Titans team could be nasty. Tony Pollard's going to get touches. He could volume himself into an RB2, high-end RB3. But I do not expect much out of him with this matchup. Rookie quarterback first game against a tough Broncos defense. Niners, Seahawks. Looking at this game, I'm high on Kenneth Walker. I like Zach Charbonnet. I think if I'm looking at Zach Charbonnet and a fringe backup running back that's getting touches, I'm probably going to roll Charbonnet and see what happens. Everybody's watching Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey lied to us last year, so why wouldn't he this year? He's not lying. I understand his headspace. Like, you're thinking, one more sleep, another sleep. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good, guys. I'm going to be good. Oh, I got to get shut down. That's something that could happen. He could be out there. If he's out there, it's still going to be a guessing game. You drafted him, though, knowing this. Brian Robinson, the handcuff. Rondo's also a handcuff. Could be a mix of those two running backs. if he's not out there. Get your rosters ready. Juwan Jennings could be racking up targets. Ricky Pearsall could be racking up targets. The passing game could be lit a little bit more with McCaffrey out, or if he's even in. George Kittle, I expect him to have a solid matchup today. Jackson Smith-Njigba could be volatile. But I expect him to get 5+, 6+, 7+ targets. Cooper Kupp's going to get short targets, so he's going to get some volume in the short game. Could rack up good enough. We're also seeing some older wide receivers already hit. Torrey Horton, deep ball city, gamble play. So if I'm doing a DFS stack here, I could use Torrey Horton as my cheap play, hoping he brings in a deep ball, and then try to cram in studs like a Walker, CMC if he's out there, or a Kittle, and then pick one of the quarterbacks. Darnold's probably cheaper, so you got to stack him with like a Cup probably and see what happens with that. Just getting creative off the back of my mind here. But I do like this matchup, and I think it can be sneaky. Lions and Packers, 46.5 over under. I'm expecting fireworks. I'm stacking the board with this game. Amon-Ra start, J-Mo start, Gibbs start, Goff start. Laporta could be a little risky, but also you're starting him because you drafted him so high. Love, you're watching him, but you start. Josh Jacobs could be sneaky as people are not talking about him. Reed's questionable, but probably out there. Golden, I am starting. I'm starting. I'm looking at him pretty hard. Tucker Kraft, I'm looking at him pretty hard. I'm looking at Golden pretty hard. First game ever. But the beats, the content creators that were shooting coverage at training camp, they were liking what they saw. I like what I saw from the clips. I look for him to take over this wide receiver room. I look for Golden to hit. It could be now. I look for this game to be gangbusters. I like this matchup a lot. I'm breaking tiers and ties with this matchup. So if I'm close with players from this game, I'm just going to take the players from this game. I'm expecting points to be scored. Puka Nacua in the Rams versus the Texans. This is another game that I'm stacking up. You see this 43.5 over under? I'm smashing the over. I am smashing the over. Matthew Stafford is the reason they do not know what they're going to get, but I'm guaranteeing you this. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. You're starting them, and this passing game is going to be lit. Kyron Williams is going to get touches. Not an optimal matchup per paper, but I think this ball is going to be flowing. CJ Stroud's going to be slinging it. Nico Collins, you're starting him by default. Christian Kirk has got the O. Jaden Higgins, deep ball city. Watch out for Jaylen Noel. So if you're creating stacks and you're trying to be sneaky in daily fantasy football, Tutu Atwell, sneaky deep ball, probably going to be priced at what, $4,000 to $3,000. You're also looking at Jaylen Noel, $4,000 to $3,000. You can make one or two of those guys in your lineup and now stack some studs. Nick Chubb should be cheap compared to other starting running backs. He should be getting touches. You're not really starting him in your basic 12-man redraft league because you should be good at running back unless you went Hero RB and that was your second running back and you're stacked everywhere else. That's fine. That's a choice we made with that decision, and I'm cool with those strategies if you live with it and you do not like pivot or FOMO from it. I'm cool with that. But you're also looking at Tyler Higbee. I look for this game to hit the over. I look for it to hit the over. I look for it to be very explosive. I look for Stroud to hit. I look for Stafford to hit. Unless there's some rando injuries or somebody spitting on somebody, I look for this game to hit. I would hit the over on this matchup. They got a tight spread here, and if it's going back to fourth, like the spread says, I look for this game to hit. I think 43.5 over under is too light for this matchup. Ravens, Bills, 50.5 over under. They're expecting fireworks. How are you going to get fireworks from the Ravens? How is this team built? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is going to get a lot of work. He's at least, at bare minimum, going to volume himself into RB2 production. At bare minimum. Let alone that big run whenever the hell that happens in this game. That's going to happen. Derrick Henry, if Christian McCaffrey's healthy, he's going to outscore him. He should have been drafted higher in the first round of leagues. We've been calling that out. Lamar Jackson, instant start. Zay Flowers, I mean, if you're ever going to start him, defense-wise, tricky matchup, but you're also looking at 50.5 over-under. Like, if you're ever going to start him, now would be the game. It's questionable still, but you shouldn't have drafted him if you look at matchups like this and you're like, I don't know if I can start him. You shouldn't have drafted him. Mark Andrews, up and down, likely out. Andrews probably going to get some work today. This is why the wide receivers are so volatile on this team. You get a lot of work to the running backs, a lot of work to the tight ends. It makes it hard to cash in on those wide receivers. Bills, Josh Allen, you're starting him. You're not benching him. James Cook could be sneaky. This ball is going to be moving. This is a rough matchup. So he could be sneaky in ways he scores. But I look for this team to get in the red zone. I look for him to score. I look for him to be so-so. This game script's going to break one way or the other. Keon Coleman's catching some buzz. He could be a sneaky play. If you're playing daily fantasy football, a lot of people are watching this video because of that. He could be a sneaky guy to go off. He's going to get a couple deep targets. If we bring one of those in, he's going to cash hard. If not, it's going to be ugly. I expect the same thing that I was saying from George Pickens. You're either going to get 5 or 6 or 20 to 25. Nothing in between. It's going to be rare that you catch in between. You're either going to catch 20 to 25 out of Keon Coleman, or you're going to catch like 5 to 6, just like George Pickens. Do with that with what you will, but that is what I say. Joshua Palmer is going to get work. There's going to be some opportunities for him. Shakir's going to be solid. I look for Josh Allen to have all-time numbers this year. This is going to be his best year as long as these wide receivers stay healthy. Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel. This is going to be a fun game. This team's going to have to get creative with the ball. They're going to do that. Kincaid has a chance, but I don't trust him. I'm not going to start him. Now we're looking at Vikings, Bears. J.J. McCarthy, first ever start. If you're gambling, you at least got Justin Jefferson. You're starting him. Aaron Jones will probably sneak some production. He probably will. And I expect T.J. Hawkinson to get that work. I expect Adam Thielen to get some red zone looks. We'll see if he can cash in on that. Caleb Williams, are we taking the step forward? Are you starting him? Because we got a new coaching staff. We upgraded the offensive line. People have forgot that narrative for some reason as we got closer to the season. It's easier to say in May, June, July, when there's no chips on the line. But it's hard to say when there is when you're setting lineups. Caleb Williams, if he does not hit, it's on him because they made some upgrades. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. You're going to see some firepower. Rome Odunze could be very sneaky this week. He could hit hard. He's getting deep targets. If we bring in one of those deep balls, Rome Odunze, watch the workload on Luther Burden. I suggest picking him up if you got a spot. And if he doesn't hit, just release him. Or if he's not running routes. Now, Olamide's there. He could be out there or should be out there in wide receiver 3 sets. But Burden's more of that upside play. Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. The thing about them, in preseason, they were sharing a lot of snaps. I expect both of them to be out there a lot of the time. So you're going to see that. I would not trust any of their tight ends this week. The only players I'm looking at is DeAndre Swift. Could be very sneaky, catching balls out of the backfield, getting work in the passing game. Could be solid in PPR, a good sneaky start. And where you drafted him at, you're thinking about starting him. DJ Moore's a start. Rome Odunze could be very sneaky for you this week. Caleb Williams, I want to see more, but this matchup could be great for him. McCarthy could be a huge hitter or a huge nada, but at least he's got Justin Jefferson this week. But those are the must-starts from this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to ask your question. Listen to all those matchups. Take that in. Also, if you have something else that disagrees, please drop that in the comments below. A man can only cover so many players. I ain't going to get them all right. I ain't going to know them all. If you disagree or you know something else, drop it down there. Like, those are all the games, all the players. Click that button. Stop missing out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.